No one who looked at Caesar saw past the size. They saw the shoulders, the stillness, the sheer weight of him, and they built walls, literal and otherwise, between themselves and what they assumed he was. What they never bothered to ask was what lived inside all that muscle and silence. Had they asked, they might have found something they recognized, something achingly familiar, a loneliness so complete it had begun to eat him from the inside out. His early life had been held together by two people. His father carried a quiet solidity that made the world feel stable. His mother gave him warmth, even through whatever private sorrow she carried behind her eyes. Together they formed the entire universe of his understanding, and he had no reason to imagine that universe would ever end. Life felt circular and safe, one day folding into the next with the comfort of the expected. Then they were gone. Not gradually, not in a way that gave him time to adjust, just gone, one and then the other, until the space they had occupied was simply empty, and Caesar was left standing in it, unable to make sense of an absence that no one could explain to him. He didn't rage, he didn't fight. He went quiet in the way that signals something far more serious than anger. He stopped eating. He stopped engaging. He sat inside his grief like a man sitting inside a collapsed building, waiting for a rescue he wasn't sure would come. Doctors observed. Notes were taken. The word depression was used, and treatment plans were drawn up with the careful efficiency of people who mistake documentation for understanding. None of it reached him. He was not waiting for a diagnosis. He was waiting for warmth. It came in the form of a cat. Mabel had no business being there. She was a stray, small enough to fit in one of Caesar's hands, guided by nothing more than instinct and the particular fearlessness of a creature that hasn't been told what to be afraid of. She found her way to him the way certain things find their way to certain people, without explanation, without invitation, as though the meeting had always been scheduled and she was simply arriving on time. What happened next stopped everyone watching in their tracks. She walked straight to him. No circling, no hesitation, no cautious negotiation of distance. She closed the space between them as though it had never existed and pressed herself into the hollow of his arms. And Caesar, this creature the world had framed as something to fear, received her with a gentleness so unexpected it was almost hard to watch. He wrapped around her slowly, carefully, like someone handling the last fragile thing in a broken world. And then he was still. That stillness was different from the stillness of before. This one had something in it, something like relief. They became from that day forward a unit. They moved through their shared days with the easy familiarity of two creatures who have long since stopped needing to explain themselves to each other. Caesar ate again. He played. He lifted his head when she entered the space and tracked her movements with the focused attention of someone watching over something precious. Visitors came and stood at the glass and went quiet in the way people go quiet when they encounter something that bypasses the thinking mind entirely and lands somewhere older and deeper. It was, by any measure, a recovery, and it lasted until the outside world decided it had an opinion. The complaints came in the language of concern, safety, appropriateness, natural boundaries, the welfare of both animals. Some of the people raising these objections were sincere. All of them were certain, and their certainty, accumulated and organized and delivered through the proper channels, eventually produced a decision that the people closest to Caesar dreaded, and those farthest from him considered entirely reasonable. The two of them were separated. What followed was not a slow decline. It was a collapse, fast, steep, and frightening to witness. Caesar folded inward almost immediately, and within a fortnight he was in the medical facility, his body failing in ways that the available interventions could slow but not stop. The team around him worked without pause. Nothing took hold. He was slipping, and the speed of it carried its own terrible message. One afternoon, a keeper followed the direction of a trembling, barely raised hand and found a photograph on the wall. Caesar, hovering at the edge of consciousness, was pointing at it with everything he had left. It was Mabel. She was brought back the same day. No meetings, no process, just the immediate, uncomplicated understanding of people watching a living creature point at the one thing that might keep him alive. Mabel arrived, found him, and settled beside him with the quiet constancy that had defined her from the beginning. She chirped softly. She stayed close. She was simply, completely present. He turned a corner.
The speed of his recovery unsettled the medical team in the best possible way. There was no clinical explanation that fully accounted for it, and most of the people in that room quietly understood that they weren't going to find one. What had been missing was not a treatment, it was her. The two of them grew old together in the way that the lucky ones do, not without difficulty, but with the bedrock certainty of each other's presence running underneath everything else. Then came the morning the keepers noticed Mabel's pregnancy, and Caesar became something new again. He became a guardian. He positioned his body between her and the cold. He made sure she was fed and sheltered and undisturbed. He did this with a consistency and attentiveness that required no instruction and admitted no exception. When the kittens came, he stepped back. He found a corner and watched from it, and there was something in his expression that anyone who has ever felt suddenly surplus to a new and complete family would have recognized immediately. The question was written plainly across him: "Is there still a place for me here?" Mabel picked up the smallest kitten, the one that needed protecting most, and brought it to him. She set it down in front of his enormous, trembling hands and stepped back as if to say, "Here, this is yours to keep safe." He held it, those hands that the world had always pointed to as evidence of something dangerous, held that tiny life with a steadiness and care that no one watching could speak around for a moment. The kitten nuzzled into the warmth of his chest, trustingly, completely, with the pure, uncalculating openness of the newborn. Science has a name for what Caesar and Mabel shared. It files it under interspecies bonding, marks it as unusual, and moves on. But the name doesn't carry the weight of what actually happened between them. What actually happened was simpler and stranger and more important than any category. Two living things found each other in the middle of a vast emptiness and decided, without language or logic or the approval of anyone watching, that the other was worth staying for. Caesar was a gorilla. His life was saved by a cat. And somewhere in that fact is a question directed squarely at us, the species that prides itself on being the most developed, the most reasoned, the most humane. A question about why we are also the only species that convenes committees to decide who is permitted to love whom, and what we nearly lost the day that committee reached its conclusion.
If this real story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to ANIMORA for more incredible animal stories. Because sometimes the most powerful stories come from the animal world.